For my wire choir assessment, I have arranged the song Autumn Leaves, composed by Joseph Cosma in 1945. Originally a French poem called The Dead Leaves, written by Jacques Prévert, the lyrics for the song were translated into English by Johnny Mercer. I have arranged it for 4 vocal harmonies in a folky acoustic style, mainly influenced by the likes of Laura Marling and Jack Johnson. If you pay attention to the lyrics of Autumn Leaves, it is quite a sombre song about love and loss and memories. Autumn can be viewed as a metaphor for change, and winter can be viewed as a metaphor for death or an ending. So this use of autumn is a reference of a transition leading towards an end, which is quite a sad subject in terms of relationships. The minor chords and key signature reflect this also, giving a sad tone to the original song. I have tried to convey this in my arrangement by using minor chords and a fairly melancholy melody. I have chosen to do my arrangement in a folky acoustic style. I'm very comfortable singing in this style, as it is a genre I listen to regularly. I also knew I wanted to use a guitar backing track, as the chords would assist in the pitching and timing of the performance, so this played a contributing factor into determining which genre I was going to arrange in. A lot of the other covers and arrangements of this song that I found online were in the swing style, and as the version I had been listening to already was fairly jazzy, I knew I didn't want to go in this direction. Eventually, I found the version of Autumn Leaves by Eva Cassidy, where she plays guitar and changes the melody quite drastically. I enjoyed the originality of her version and felt the folky acoustic style did fit the song quite well, as I initially struggled to hear the song in any other style other than jazz or swing. After playing around with the chords on my guitar and listening to other folky acoustic artists like Laura Marling, I found a feel for the timing and progression that I was happy with. I knew that vocally the stylistics in folk are quite more conversational and soft, so I took the melody down to sit around my speaking register, and as a result the melody is now quite low. I worked out my harmonies methodically by writing out each chord and the notes it was made up of, then finding inversions I liked and tried to make sure each harmony led smoothly on to their next notes rather than jumping about all over the place. I used this method to work out my harmonies last time and I felt it worked quite well for me, so stuck with it this time around. I used triads and seventh chords in my arrangement, and so I used these intervals to make up my harmonies, as I knew myself and my vocalists comfortable and trained in using these kinds of harmonies very regularly, and so would make the learning and rehearsing process much simpler. I wrote my arrangement in 4/4 as this is a typical time signature for folk and a lot of contemporary music. I also knew writing in this time signature is nice and easy to work with, so again I played to the strengths of myself and my vocalists and made life a lot easier for all of us. I changed the key from A minor to F sharp minor as this accommodated the lower range I was planning on using. Also, the use of sharps in this key signature sounded a bit sweeter and less bland than the natural key. I followed the same chord progression as the original music, just transposed to F sharp minor. I've used a mixture of triads and seventh chords to keep the tonality varied as well, and have used different inversions of the chords as this made voice leading much simpler, but also creates a more varying sound in terms of the chords as well. The dynamics I've incorporated in my arrangement are fairly natural. The piece begins quite quietly but gets gradually louder throughout, building towards the end and then resolving quietly so as to reflect the delicate nature of the song and its lyrics and meaning. I have used quite open harmonies in a lot of places as well to create a richer and bigger sound, whilst using vowel sounds for the 3 vocal lines beside the lead to add to this open feel. I feel like I struggled to get going a lot more with my wire choir arrangement this time compared to when I rearranged yesterday. This was partly due to the fact that I didn't already know the song very well like I did before, but also because I didn't feel very connected to the song and wasn't able to naturally hear it in a new style straight away. I had to try a lot of different approaches with the song before I found a style I felt happy with, I originally thought I could make it into a more upbeat Motown style song to completely contrast the melancholic nature of the original, but I found this meant changing far more than just the rhythm and melody and was therefore a bit too ambitious for the time I'd allowed myself to complete this task in. Another difficulty I found with writing this arrangement is the limitation of the voices available to me. For instance, I was unable to incorporate a bass part into my arrangement because none of my singers were physically capable of singing in this register. This was a slight problem because my lead melody is lower than all my harmonies, and I would have liked a harmony that sat below the lead line to blend all of the parts together and create a richer texture. Another aspect of writing the arrangement I found difficult was varying the rhythm of the harmonies. I used a lot of minims and semibreves, with any movement generally coming from simple crotchets or exact mimicking of the lead part's rhythm. I would have liked to have incorporated a more independent rhythm for the harmonies and perhaps even have created some form of counterpoint within the piece to give it even more richness but also more interest and a level of complexity. As we did last time for our wire choir assessment, the vocalists in my arrangement and myself organised ourselves so that we were singing on each other's pieces. This meant that rehearsal booking was so much easier as we were all together and were able to have longer rehearsals where we could spend a certain amount of time rehearsing each person's arrangement before rotating onto the next person. Using our knowledge from our previous experience in rehearsing for a wire choir arrangement, we knew we needed to crack on and plough through all the arrangements, so we were as prepared as we possibly could be for the performance. However, this time we did not start rehearsing as early as we all would have liked to, which is mainly due to the fact that writing of the arrangements felt more difficult compared to last time. The main difficulty faced this time in the rehearsal process was time management and also managing her own stress levels. Trying to balance our other priorities and workload with wire choir rehearsals was much more challenging than before, and knowing we didn't have as long to rehearse sometimes caused a bit of panic, but we were strict with ourselves and determined and got on with it. I'm fairly happy with my finished arrangement. The style I chose to do it in lent itself to a guitar backing track, which helped a lot with pitching and timing, so I'm glad that I've done that. I think I could have used maybe a few more different rhythmic elements within the harmonies to make it sound a bit more interesting, rather than just sticking to minims and semibreves. My performance wasn't as good as my first wire choir performance last term, which I felt was mainly due to a lack of rehearsal, meaning the timings and the harmonies weren't as tight as they could have been. I did deliberately make the parts more simple, knowing I had less time for rehearsal, so I hoped that this would mean the performance did go fairly smoothly, which I think it did, considering the workload that we had at the time. As always, if I were to do this again, I would like to give myself more time to write my arrangement so I can alter it and make it more complex and pleasant to listen to, but also give myself longer to rehearse it so that I can tighten the performance up and work on the finer details like dynamics and certain vocal techniques like slurs, as well as tempo changes and things like that.